There we go. Better. Here we go. Awesome. It's great when you have two cameras set up. You have no idea which one I had on for a minute there. But yeah, welcome to Space Oats Live. Today is what is today? It's May 23rd. Oh my goodness, the month's almost out. Crazy how time flies. So anyway, this week we are going to discuss a couple different things. We'll see how much time we have. I might not get to everything, but we'll see what happens. But first off, we're gonna dive into some celebration stuff. Just chit chat about celebration, and then we'll go over a couple of episodes of Visions Volume 2. So if you've watched that, great. If not, don't worry. I won't spoil the ending of any of these episodes. But they're pretty. Well, at least one of them is a really lighthearted episode that I kind of watched again this week, which was really fun. And then yeah, we'll look at some Return of the Jedi stuff because it's the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi if we have time. But yeah, so I mean, really, just to kind of obviously within the past week, a lot of stuff has happened, and if you've been under a rock, you know that the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser has been announced as closing. The last cruise will be in September, September 29th. Well, I guess it's the 29th and the 30th, with the checkout being October 1st, right? Because September only has 30 days, I believe. So last cruise already being booked up, so nobody else can join that one. So if you're on that one, I know I had some of my followers say that they were going to be on the last cruise, so that's pretty cool. Some of my followers on my Instagram page. So yeah, and if I'm there, that'd be great. If not, we'll see. But I'm trying to actually get on a cruise at some point. I actually had an invite today, so as long as the dates are great, I think I might be actually getting on a cruise before this is done and out. So here's to hoping. About that. At least I can maybe get on one cruise before we end. But it's been great being a crew member on the Halcyon. Nothing but love from our passengers all the time. I actually got a lot of cool gifts today, just in the 4 hours of onboarding. Some keychains, some stickers, some little mini duck figures, and some pins. So, our passengers are awesome. They're amazing. It's been a great wild ride. It's been a great experience. And that's basically all I'm going to say. So I know the love has been pouring in from our passengers and from many different others that know that I'm a crew member. And yeah, so it's been awesome. But so we'll just go ahead and then leave it at that. And if you have any comments on Star Cruiser, go ahead and leave them in the comment section. That's great. Yeah, and while you're at it, if you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe to this channel. And you know what? Like me, subscribe, hit the notifications. We do this every Tuesday night. So let's get this started. Let's get Space Oats started. This is definitely the podcast you're looking for tonight, especially if you've never been to a Star Wars celebration. What actually got me thinking about this today was today in Star Wars history. And on May 23rd, 1987, there was an interesting little celebration that I don't think I ever remember hearing about. Now, I was only, let's see, I would have been 8 years old at the time. So, communications back then, no internet, all that good stuff. How would I have known that this even existed? And it happened in California, so I had no idea. But apparently on May 23rd, 1987, the first Lucasfilm sanctioned Star Wars convention launched, and it was a 3-day event celebrating Star Wars 10th anniversary. So pretty awesome. I didn't even know anything about this, honestly. And I was actually looking it up a little bit, and there's a little bit on Wikipedia about it, Again, it was Lucasfilm sanctioned. It was a 3-day convention, and it was basically for Star Wars fans. Um, it was it had two different names that it kind of went by. One being Starlog Salutes Star Wars. The reason for that was um, it was actually organized by a magazine called Starlog Magazine. I've never heard of this magazine. I have no idea anything about it. And then also the convention organizers was a company called Creation Conventions. So this was like long before like Repop or anything had to do with any of the other conventions. This is completely different at that time. But it was also known as the Star Wars 10th Anniversary Convention. So again, celebrating 10 years of Star Wars is basically the reason for this convention. And as said before, it was an officially sponsored Star Wars convention. Lucasfilm did sponsor this convention. They also kind of did, it was kind of like a tribute to George Lucas and Star Wars, really, as far as this convention goes. It was held at the Stauffer Concourse Hotel in LA, which I've only been to LA once. I flew in, flew out, basically to go to Anaheim last year. So I don't really know much about LA. I don't know if this hotel even exists anymore or anything like that. But George Lucas did attend this event. Obviously, he was a big part of Lucasfilm at that time. So if this was Lucasfilm sanctioned, he probably had a lot to do with it, what was presented there, and everything like that. So he did attend this convention. Another interesting attendee was Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek. And he was a surprise guest at this convention. And it resulted in actually the only known photograph of the creator of Star Wars, George Lucas, and the creator of Star Trek together. And it was taken by Dan Madsen, who is a longtime contributor to Star Wars fan club and so forth. Also did a lot with the conventions to begin with when we started all these as well. So interesting. I could not find that photograph anywhere. But I'm sure it's out there somewhere. I kind of just found that out a little while ago. I was reading up on it with the Wikipedia, and I didn't really have time to look for the photograph to dig it up. But yeah, Gene Roddenberry and George Lucas together. Interesting. So for all you Star Trek haters, George Lucas actually was civil to Gene Roddenberry, Star Trek creator. So they were all in the same room at the same time, coexisting. And I'm a pretty big Star Trek fan, so not as big as Star Wars, obviously. I don't have any Star Trek behind me here, so definitely more so Star Wars fan than Star Trek. But I do own some Star Trek movies, and I watch pretty much everything that comes out of Star Trek, at least the movies. I've seen pretty much everything, and the new TV series and so forth. So I do enjoy Star Trek. So I'm not a Star Trek hater per se. But basically, that I really couldn't find much information about this convention. Not really, as far as like what was done there, all that good stuff. I'm surprised I didn't really know much about it because apparently some of this information was in the old Bantha tracks, and I used to get Bantha tracks. So my brother did anyway, and I don't remember anything about this. But then again, I was 8 years old at the time, so who knows if I would remember that. So it wasn't until another 11 years later, basically, that the next convention was. And that was when Star Wars Celebration started. So I would have been about 19. And I remember this very clearly because I really wanted to go. But it was in Denver, Colorado. And I really hadn't traveled on my own at all yet. And I had a lot of health issues in my later teens. So really traveling somewhere far away from home was kind of like, nerve wracking to say the least. So, but Star Wars Celebration, the first one, was held in Denver, Colorado. It was April 30th to May the 2nd. So, so a 3-day convention, right? Or is there 4 days in April? I never know these things. Yeah, so basically this was based at the Air and Space Museum, um, in Denver, Colorado, the Wings Over Rockies Air and Space Museum. They had a bunch of different panels and activities, including a THX theater demonstration. They had behind the scenes footage of episode one because that was the main movie at the time that was getting released and the promotion for that. I did post on Instagram a little while back the poster from this, which was really cool. It kind of had young Anakin Skywalker, kind of the scene of him like cresting the hill with a really like overshadowing Darth Maul, almost like death overshadowing him with his lightsaber ignited, which was a really cool poster. But they had the world premiere of the Duel of the Fates music video there, which was I remember when that came out. That was amazing. I remember watching, coming home and watching that on MTV. Actually, was the big thing. It was going to be on like Total Request Live on MTV, and all running home from school and getting a glimpse of that. So actually, I wasn't running home from school because I had done graduated. So I think probably getting home from work at that time and looking that up. There was a bunch of different like vendors there, props from the Lucasfilm archives, all sorts. A full scale Anakin Skywalker pod racer was there, as well as a 3/4 scale X-wing starfighter. And I remember just like diving into videos online, just like looking as much as I can about this because I really wanted to be there. Like I said, um, it had about an estimated 20,000 attendees that came, and I remember there being a lot of reports of it raining a lot in Denver. It was very muddy in Denver that year. So that was a big thing about that time. So, and that was actually where the Star Wars fan club was based at the time. And the event was organized, like I said, Dan Madston, who was a big a contributor to the fan club. So that's the main reason why it ended up being in Denver, Colorado. So yeah, and I had been to Denver before. Didn't have good memories of Denver because I was a big snowboarder growing up, and I got altitude sickness when I went to the Rockies. Of course, Denver's sea level, so that wouldn't have happened. Denver's a great city. I've never been back though. Would love to go and visit. It's a great city. But yeah, so that was the first celebration. Um, if you watch this later and you were an attendee of the first celebration, uh, drop a comment on that. I'd like to hear like what maybe even maybe if you could post some pictures, tag me, whatever. I'd love to see some pictures from Star Wars Celebration if you have them. Of course, smartphones weren't really like crazy big quite then yet, so the day of social media hadn't really hit then for Star Wars Celebration. Celebration number 2 that happened. About 3 years later, and it happened over the May the 4th holiday. So it was May the 3rd through the 5th, 2002, was Star Wars Celebration 2. This was actually in Indianapolis, Indiana, so a little bit closer to my home at the time because I'm originally from Maryland, so it was a little bit closer. I was, again, really wanting to go to this. I just couldn't really find anybody to go with, and that was something that I'm not going to go somewhere by myself and travel when I've never done that before. This time we were celebrating Attack of the Clones. And that was the big part of that one. Steve Sansweet, as we know from Rancho Obi-Wan, gave the opening welcome to the audience there. So he went through, listed the events, informed, basically there was more that you could do that was anything possible for one person, which is ended up being how celebrations continued to be. There's no way you can experience everything at Star Wars Celebration. And that was ended up being my experience the first time. I wish somebody would have kind of told me that, kind of prepared me for that, because it is kind of overwhelming. And the reason why I wanted to kind of do this on the kind of back end also of Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser closing is because it kind of, it's a fan event. Like, yes, Galactic Star Cruiser is immersive, but I know that we're gonna want to be finding some void there. And if you've never been to a Star Wars celebration, this is the void that you want to go to. You want to go to something where it's packed with Star Wars fans. You don't have that toxic Star Wars fandom. These are people that they're traveling to go and just live Star Wars for 3-4 days, however long these conventions end up being, and just enjoying Star Wars, talking to people about Star Wars the entire time. And you can't do everything. And most of the fun about it is just spending time with fans. There was a lot of guests attending this celebration. There was, there was video chat for some that didn't attend, but some of the ones that actually attended this celebration were Samuel L. Jackson, of course, who is Mace Windu, Pernilla August, which I believe. Pernilla August, was that that was Baru? No. That was Shmi Skywalker. That's right. Pernilla August attended that one. John Williams, Natalie Portman, Christopher Lee, Ian McDiarmid, Ewan McGregor, and George Lucas attended this one as well. So yeah, that was celebration number 2. Celebration number 3 happened in 2005. So another couple years later, right? Because we had 2002 and then to 2005. So another 3 years later, because again, these are coinciding with the prequels, is basically the reason why these celebrations were coming out, to promote the prequels, really. And this one was April 21st to the 24th, 2005. And this was, again, held by LucasArts, to celebrate the May 19th, 2005 release of Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. There's a really cool poster for that one, too. I kind of found that. It was pretty neat. It's got the Anakin Obi-Wan duel, kind of with the fires of Mustafar, the lava, with the basically Darth Vader in the background there, which is really cool. 34,000 fans, so getting bigger there. About 14,000 more attending this one, but this one was a 4-day event. So if you notice the dates there, 21st to the 24th. So this now was extended to 4 days. So more people, more days this time. So it was Thursday through Sunday, which happened again with one of the ones that I went to as we get to those. And a lot of, again, booths, merchandise, and displays. Members of the 501st at this one were very predominant at this event. So fans starting to catch on, cosplaying, really starting to be a big thing now, and the 501st being there. George Lucas did make an appearance one day. He made an appearance on the 23rd, which would have been the Sunday of that convention. And he did confirm at that time that there was going to be a Star Wars live-action television series. So I don't know if you remember that, but I clearly remember that. It was supposed to be on Coruscant, like the lower levels of Coruscant. I think it was supposed to be called like Star Wars 1313 or something like that. It went through a bunch of different iterations of possibly being a live-action series to a video game, and it just never came to for anything. But that was that was George Lucas wanting to do live action television. He wanted to do something because he did that with Indiana Jones, with the Indiana Jones Chronicles. Did I just lose power? I don't think I lost power. I think my TV just went out, which I'm going to have to go turn on my light real quick. I will be right back. There we go. My bad. So I had my TV on, and I forgot that my light for my backlight was plugged into my DVD player, which is weird because I don't know why that all went out. Interesting. But I still have power. Looks like I still have Wi-Fi, so I'm good. Maybe there was just a little surge. I am getting some like storms here, so I might have lost a little bit, and maybe that's why it flickered off and just kind of went off. Maybe there was a little bit of surge there. So hopefully, I think you can still hear me. Yeah, everything looks good. Still getting volume here. Everything's good. I think it did. I think I actually did get a little bit of a surge from some of the lightning in the area. So hopefully these storms don't cut me out. And that'll be the case, and we can keep going here. But yeah. So going back to Star Wars Celebration 3, again talking about that Star Wars live action television series. I totally remember that, and then Star Tours 2. So basically a revamping of Star Tours at Disneyland and Disney World, which is still amazing, and we're getting more updates on that now, which is pretty awesome. So those are like the big things. A couple different events. They had the Celebration store, which kind of started off autograph halls, a fanfare hall. They had the Star Wars tattoo art. All these things started to get really big. Death Star diorama builders, Star Wars cars, which became a thing, and we've seen those now like show up at many celebrations, like themed cars. Didn't really see too much of that in London, honestly, except for like the official Volkswagen cars. But I'm talking about like fan cars, which is really cool to see. We had a lot of them in Chicago, actually. Fan club tables, an Xbox arena. Basically getting into video games. There was a Stormtrooper Olympics. Hey there, RJ. Thank you for joining. There was a life-sized origami of the Naboo starfighter, the Jedi starfighter, Jabba, and Anakin's ship. So I got to look at some pictures up from that because I don't remember seeing anything about that. That just sounds really weird. They had droid racing, obstacle courses, and then Jedi training as well. And then also a fan club lounge. Many different meet and greets from all sorts of walks of life of many different people from Star Wars. Yeah, so just so much stuff. If you went on Wikipedia, you can basically get a rundown of all the events from every day. So this is where like a lot of things started to get kind of calculated, and really is out there to look up and just kind of reminisce, especially if you were somebody that was there. Another thing, and I totally remember this, and if you've never seen it, Star Wars in 30 minutes was there, and that's an amazing thing to see, which is really cool. Yeah, just all sorts of collecting stuff. So this is where I believe Star Wars Celebration really started to just get its fan base built up big time. So again, this was in Indianapolis, Indiana, in 2005. So again, second time in Indianapolis, 2 times in a row. So which I didn't even realize that, honestly. But yeah, so twice in Indianapolis, Indiana. Then we got to Celebration 4. Celebration 4 was in 2007. So this was basically, we're starting, Revenge of the Sith is done, and now we started getting to this 2-year, every other year program for Star Wars Celebration, which basically kept going for a while at this point. So Star Wars Celebration 4 was 2 years later in 2007. It was May 24th to the 28th, so a little bit later in the springtime. And this basically was the 30th anniversary of, coinciding with the 30th anniversary of Star Wars. So there was some really cool artwork that came out for this one, poster art, so forth, which was really cool. I love the one that kind of had like the galaxy in the sky. I found that one with, you can see like an image of Luke Skywalker holding the lightsaber up, and then you see Tatooine, Lars Homestead with Luke walking off towards the suns, which is a really cool poster. This is, you'll hear people talk about this as C4. Or either as the numerical 4 or the Roman numerals 4. There was a lot of promotional stuff with it that way. It was held this time in Los Angeles, California, so in LA at the LA Convention Center. Basically, again, primary purpose, celebrate the 30th anniversary of Star Wars, and which basically debuted on May 25th. So that's why it was held during that time period. So this one was like 5 days long. Now, the first day, May 24th, was exclusively for members of the Hyperspace fan club, which actually I was a member. So if I would have gone to Lucasfilm or LA for this, I would have been able to go all days because I was a Hyperspace fan club member. There was Jay Legalia, who played was it Captain Typho in Attack of the Clones, was the celebrity master of ceremonies, in a sense, on the concourse stage. And then there was a behind the scenes stage as well. This time, again, around 35,000 people, about the same as the Indianapolis one. Or maybe a few thousand more, because it did say that it was the largest attendance so far of any of the Star Wars celebrations, up until we get to Celebration Orlando, which we'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, so a lot of honestly, really cool stuff. Confirming that there would be some amazing things to come out of this. There's a breakdown of like all the days. If you wanted to look that up, there's plenty of that. There was a 6-film marathon around that time as well in one of the halls, which was really cool. Hope they come back to the U at Patrick saying, come on, man, you said you're going to Tokyo. I don't think it's gonna be that much more than like a Star Cruiser trip. Come on, honestly, yeah, I don't think it's gonna be that much more than a Star Cruiser trip. So, and it's well worth it. It's well worth it to go. And Japan's just gonna be amazing. I just have this feeling Japan's gonna be awesome. Like I said, every Star Wars celebration I've been to has been better and better every single time. Yeah, so pretty much anybody that went to the convention got to go to the marathon, the Star Wars marathon, for free, which is really cool. But there was limited tickets or limited space, so you kind of had to register there. So the versions of the films that were shown at that time were the DVD edits at that time, and the marathon ended up being around 2,000 to 4,200 people watching Star Wars. So that's pretty cool. Similar prices, but I can't get time off. It's 2 years out. You can't like start, putting in like the word, like, you got to do this. You're a huge Star Wars fan. And like, that's what I'm going to be doing. I mean, people know I'm a Star Wars fan. I think they just kind of guarantee that, even if it's going to be some of it like non-paid time off, I'm going to get to go. So a lot of artists there this time, Celebration store. Again, if you purchase your badge online, you could get like a 2-hour time slot, basically to get in, with like a quick path shopping reservation, which kind of, that started off that I didn't realize that they started that off as early as they did, with like getting into those like lightning lane entrances at Celebration, but apparently they did way back then. The store actually was open 24 hours a day. which is pretty awesome. I wish they would do that now, and basically just go into the Celebration store anytime, even when the convention's not going on. That would get rid of the lines, right? They had a repaint of the Luke Skywalker helmet. It was a mini helmet by Master Replicas, and that was made exclusively for Star Wars Celebration 4. It was so that's pretty neat. But just a lot of celebrities there for autographs again, a lot of collecting panels, behind the scenes stages, all sorts of really awesome stuff there. So there was a conversation with Carrie Fisher. Was one of the panels, which was pretty amazing. You actually you had to buy a separate ticket for that. It was like $15 a ticket. Your job knows you're a huge Star Wars fan. However, people wait months to see me. So I like to honor the appointments one day. Okay, gotcha. So, all right. Well, yeah, I can get that. You just got to block it out way ahead of time. No appointments for me. No appointments for me. That whole, however much time you wanna take. I mean, honestly, you don't have to stay long. You just go for the 3 days. It'd be like a 5-day trip. It'd be a week trip because you'd have to basically take a day to get there and a day to get back. But if that's what you really wanted to get there, you could do that. Fan stage there as well. Fan film awards, R2D2 builders. The One Man Star Wars trilogy was shown again. Kind of like 30-minute Star Wars, but a little bit different. Costume pageants started being a thing, I think. Fanboys. If you've never seen Fanboys, that's a really cool fan film fic. I actually own it. It's a really cool like indie film on basically getting to. I think it had to do with one of the prequel openings and basically the path to get to go see the prequels. And I haven't watched it in a really long time, but it's a really cool kind of like documentary of Star Wars fans, which is pretty awesome. So apparently they previewed that there. Lots of other guests that were there as well. So Star Wars Celebration 4, basically first time out west. Well, at least far out west on the West Coast, LA. Moving on to the next one, which was the first one in Europe. So Celebration Europe was held in 2007 as well. So 2 celebrations in 1 year. Celebration Europe was in 2007. It was in July 13th through 15th. July 13th through 15th, 2007. And this was at the XL Center, which we had our last celebration at. So it was the first celebration to be held outside of the United States. Basically, again, promoting the 30th anniversary of A New Hope. So they basically get that over there. Warwick Davis was the celebrity master of ceremonies. Pretty awesome to have Warwick Davis there doing that. That would have been amazing to basically have the entire convention basically with him as the MC, which is pretty awesome. This was managed by the Cards Inc. group. I don't know who they are, but they took care of managing that celebration there. They had intergalactic passports, which basically were originally issued as backstage passes for The Empire Strikes Back. There was 10 collectible stamps, each acquired from specific events in the showings, almost like a scavenger hunt. First time we see something like that there. So really awesome. Some of the celebrities that were there, Jeremy Bulloch, Daniel Logan, Tamara Morrison, Ray Park, David Prowse, Anthony Daniels, those were present at the exhibition on all 3 days. So, and then a bunch of other people signing autographs and so forth throughout the weekend. The opening ceremonies had Steve Sansweet there, kind of kicking it off, introducing Mark Hamill and Ian McDiarmid, who made a public appearance there, which they didn't really do a lot of public appearances at the time. So that was pretty cool. Ian McDiarmid, now pretty much a fan, a staple showing up at the conventions. He's a really awesome guy. I've actually met him. He's super nice, really down to earth, loves his fans. A really cool poster for this one with it was almost like a Beatles-esque celebration poster with all the characters, with Star Wars Celebration Europe like in flowers in front of them, kind of like Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band ish look to it. Lots of different panels. Again, we're getting into some big things there. They did have One Man Star Wars Trilogy as well there, doing their thing. So, but a really just jam-packed weekend of 3 days Star Wars. So a little bit less than what we had in LA for that year, but nonetheless, a great celebration of the 30th anniversary of A New Hope. Didn't have to wait long for another one, but again, out of the country. So the next year, they went to Japan. So again, I didn't realize they went to Japan. I totally missed this. But in 2008, Celebration did go to Japan. It was put on by Lucasfilm again. And it was at, I believe, the same convention center that we're going to in 2025, the Makurahari Messe Convention Center, I believe. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's near Tokyo, so I think it's the same one that we are going to be going back to for 2025. So again, this was a carry-on of celebrating the 30th anniversary. So it's almost like they were doing like a world tour for Star Wars A New Hope 30th anniversary. It actually debuted in Japan in 1978, so it almost was to the day an actual 30-year celebration, because Celebration Japan in 2008 was July 19th through the 21st. June 24th was the 1978 was the release of A New Hope in Japan. So about a month after, a year and a month, or 30 years and a month was basically the Star Wars Celebration there. Steve Sansweet announced it earlier that year at WonderCon that it was going to be happening, and StarWars.com actually announced it as well. Events include talked with Dave Filoni there for the then upcoming movie and TV series. So, as well as screenings of Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. So, an upcoming movie. Basically, I didn't really know what that was going to be in 2008. So, but we know that was ended up being the Clone Wars movie that was going to be coming with the TV series, The Clone Wars, as well. So, and Dave Filoni taking charge of that. So, what a fitting place to be able to do that with so much animation coming out of Japan and so much inspiration from Star Wars coming from Japan. So, pretty awesome. Celebration 5. Which basically we're going back now to the 2 years, every 2 years. So now flipping from 2008 to 2010, August 12th through the 15th, 2010 was Celebration 5. And this was in Orlando, Florida. Who would have thought that it would have been a great idea to go to Orlando, Florida in the hottest part of the year and put on a celebration? I have no idea what they were thinking. I did not attend this one. This was not the one I attended. This was before me moving to Florida. But this was the 7th celebration of the Star Wars saga. 5th in the United States. That's why it was Celebration 5. So they only counted numerically the ones in the States. Anytime it went outside the States, it was just wherever it was. So Celebration Europe, Celebration Japan, and then every time it was in the States was when it got another number, which is why it always kind of threw me off as to where ones were, because I didn't realize that some of these ones out of the country were there, and also I didn't realize that there was 2 in Indianapolis because of that. So Celebration 5 had really cool stickers. I know that there's been some out there with Boba Fett, which are really cool. But so Celebration 5 had a lot of guests there, many different autograph sessions. Some of the main people that showed up, big people, were George Lucas, Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, so forth. There was another cool poster with the Slave One, kind of like at Cape Kennedy, like blasting off. Kind of cheesy looking, didn't come out good, but tons of people came to Star Wars Celebration Orlando at that time. The main event was George Lucas being interviewed by Jon Stewart, comedian, politician, whatever you want to call him. So I know that that's a highlight of his career. That he's talked about interviewing. He's a huge Star Wars fan. Jon Stewart was made into his own custom action figure, which is really cool. The fans were allowed to submit questions, so questions answered by George Lucas from you. Lucas discussed the Clone Wars, Star Wars in 3D, Star Wars Blu-ray, the new animated show, which was the Clone Wars, movie making, and then officially, which I didn't even remember this, but George Lucas officially named Obi-Wan Kenobi's planet as Stewjon. I wish we would have like gotten something said about that at some point for real in canon. I mean, George Lucas said so, it must be canon. So, but apparently Obi-Wan Kenobi's from the planet Stewjon. We've never been to Stewjon before. We got to go to Stewjon at some point. Named after Jon Stewart, of course. Mark Hamill appeared to discuss the deleted scenes on the Blu-rays and to talk about The Empire Strikes Back. Carrie Fisher came and talked about Empire Strikes Back, and hundreds of fans were allowed to wait overnight to get into the main event, which was pretty awesome. It was a 4-day convention, pretty much 10 to 7 every day, and Sunday 10 to 5. Some of the events included movie screenings after closing and so forth. So we had all that as well. But so much other stuff happened at Star Wars Celebration in 2010. That would have been Star Wars Celebration 5. Star Wars Celebration 6. Star Wars Celebration 6. That happened in Europe. This was 2010 was Celebration 5. And then we were 2 years later, and we went to Europe, back to Europe for Celebration Europe 2. So Celebration 6 or Celebration Europe 2. Basically, we had nope, I'm sorry. Celebration 6 was back in Orlando. My bad. Celebration 6 was back in Orlando. But this time, not Orlando. Yeah, at the Orange County Convention Center in Orlando, Florida. I'm getting confused from my notes here. So this was again back in August again. I don't understand why they were doing August. August 23rd to the 26th. And basically, because of the success of 5, they went right back to Orlando in 6. So we had and I did not know, I don't remember this at all. Star Wars Transmission, which was like a talk show that was coming up. I don't even remember if I've ever seen that. And that was announced on the first day of the convention. Several T-shirts were made by Her Universe. Ashley Eckstein was getting started with her Universe line, and this was really big. She's obviously the voice of Ahsoka Tano. If you didn't know and you've lived under a rock, that's who Ashley is. But lots of really cool stuff that she had created were presented there. Many celebrity guests, including Ben Burt, Jake Lloyd, Ian McDiarmid, Peter Mayhew, Anthony Daniels, Tamora Morrison, Mark Hamill, all there. So amazing. The audio drama Star Wars Smuggler's Gambit was performed live at Celebration 6. If you've never heard that, it's amazing. So I would highly recommend that. Really cool. Lots of cool merchandise was there, artwork and so forth at Celebration 6. Celebration Europe 2 was next. That was 1 year later. Of course, anytime in the States, every 2 years at this point. And then in between, they would throw one in every other year to out of the country. So Europe was in 2013, July 26th to 28th, 2013. So this was the second one to go back to Europe, but this time not in London, this time in Germany, in Essen, Germany. So pretty awesome. I would love to go back to I would love to go to Germany. So if Star Wars wants to go back to Germany again, that'd be great. The event was hosted again by Warwick Davis, who hosted Celebration Europe 1. So he was again hosting in Europe. So it seemed like Warwick Davis was the resident MC in Europe. Many different special contests and so forth there. Many different celebrities showed up and autograph experiences and so forth in Celebration Europe. There was an outdoor screening of Return of the Jedi next to the convention center there, so that fans could enjoy as well. So those are some of the highlights there. After that, 2 years later, we went to Anaheim for the first time in Celebration Celebration Anaheim in 2015. It was April 16th through the 19th. Celebration Anaheim was right there with Disneyland. So, which is pretty awesome. If you've never been to Disneyland, Disneyland's amazing, and it's right there by the convention center. Great way to be able to celebrate Disney and Star Wars at the same time. You can do it all in 1 week. At that point in time, the Roman numerals kind of stopped. So they're basically now we're just going to be year and location. So we stopped the Roman numerals, similar to what we saw in the movies, no longer at that point. Celebration Anaheim opened with a panel on The Force Awakens and also a panel on Rogue One, a Star Wars story. So there was also a special screening of 4 previously unreleased episodes of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, beginning with the episode The Bad Batch. So that was pretty interesting. Who knew that The Bad Batch was going to become such a big thing? So 1 year later, we went back to Europe for the third time. So Celebration Europe 2016 was held July 15th through the 17th at the XL London Center. So back to London again, second time in London. After that, we went back to Celebration Orlando in 2017. Now, Celebration Orlando was the first celebration that I attended. I had just moved here a year earlier, and once it was announced, I was on board to go to Celebration Orlando. So this is where I began my celebration journey. In fact, I believe I have my lanyard. Yep, here it is. Well, at least my badge. This is my badge, yeah. So I have my badge from Celebration Orlando right here. Kind of carried off of the artwork. The artwork was this black and white artwork with all the characters on it. And that was my 4-day adult badge that had Rey on it. So it was pretty awesome. I opted not to get Rian Johnson to sign it, even though I met Rian Johnson and he was signing lanyards, because by the time he got to me, his signature was just a little scribble. And honestly, he may have signed it and it may have rubbed off. I can't even remember if I had him sign it or not. But Rian Johnson I did meet at Star Wars Celebration Orlando because we got to camp overnight, just like they allowed people to do before. It was at the Orange County Convention Center, again, April 13th through 16th. I did not attend all days. I didn't go on Sunday, and I did partial days on Thursday and Friday, I think. So partial days both of those days. Or no, just partial days on Thursday, I think. 70,000 attendees. So this was the largest celebration, I think, to date. There was a lot of people there. So, but it didn't seem crowded, honestly. It didn't seem crowded. The one that seemed the most crowded was the next one that I went to, and that was Celebration Chicago. So Celebration Chicago, I got tons of cool, like, books and stuff from that one. Lots of t-shirts, all sorts of. Oh, by the way, I am wearing my Orlando Star Wars Celebration t-shirt. So that was, I totally forgot I was wearing my Orlando Celebration t-shirt. I had it on the way home for my live stream too. But Star Wars Chicago was the 13th convention. It was held April 11th through the 15th, 2019 at McCormick Place in Chicago. It was hosted by David Collins, Warwick Davis, and Amy Ratcliffe. All of them were on the live stage, which I never got into. Because this is when they started doing the light speed lanes, and I never got into anything on the live stage. So, and they wouldn't let anybody in there by standby entrance at all. So it was 5 days: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Thursday was kind of a half a day. So really there wasn't much. They had some really cool murals. I got pictures and stuff of the murals, which were amazing. It was huge there. Lots of guests showed up, lots of cool panels, so much stuff. And I bought so much merch and came back from Chicago with a bunch and had a blast. That's where I got to suit up in a good friend of mine that was in the 501st let me suit up in his stormtrooper armor. I got to walk around, which just was amazing. I got to start going to some after party events, some of them from the 501st, which was really cool. It was a blast. The floor was huge, so many vendors there. It did not look like it was crowded. I don't know how many attended that one, but it felt like it was more than the Orlando one. I'll just put it that way. 2 years later, we went to Anaheim 2022. So that was last year, which I did go to that one as well. So that was in the Anaheim Convention Center, May 26th to the 29th, which was originally scheduled for 2020. But with COVID canceling that, it was rescheduled to 2022, which basically ended up being the 45th anniversary of Star Wars. So Anaheim was amazing because, again, right there with Disneyland. Never been to Disneyland before, so we stayed on Disney property. We basically did Disneyland, and then we walked to Celebration that weekend. Wish I would have went a little bit longer, honestly, and just relaxed a little bit in Cali. But, you know, maybe I'll just have to plan another trip to get out there. So lots of exclusive merchandise for that celebration. I do have my Grogu Diamond Funko Pop up there that I purchased. Oh, this was from Celebration Orlando, the Last Jedi poster they gave out. And then, yeah, you can see it. My Boba Fett lunchbox up there. The retro Star Wars holiday special. That was from Chicago. All those pens over there was from Chicago. A lot of stuff from Chicago I have around. I believe even, well, this is the Chicago 5-day pass. Another Ray pass was that one. And then I believe, yeah, this is the lanyard. And then this was a cool poster I kind of dug up. I gotta like find where I can hang this, but this one was actually from Chicago as well. Because we got announced that, you know, more that was from Chicago. So more stuff coming as far as Ahsoka goes. But Star Wars Celebration Anaheim was a lot of fun too. I did get a good amount of stuff from there too. I don't know where any of that is currently, but I did get some Anaheim stuff. I'm pretty sure. Just don't know where any of it is. It's all around my room. I just didn't have anything to put behind me for a minute. Actually, Anaheim. Yeah, Anaheim was where the Grogu was. That's right. Anaheim was where the Grogu was. But I got a lot of stuff from Anaheim. Lots of guests, lots of cool panels. I met so many people there. Didn't do any meet and greets, but I ended up meeting so many people at our hotel, which was really awesome. Celebration Europe obviously happened this year, which was amazing. April 7th through 10th at the XL Center in London. There was a live stream that was hosted by Anthony Carboni, Christina Arieli. Ariel, basically, all right. Thank you, RJ. Thank you for joining in. I never really go to the live stage at Star Wars Celebration. I think it's just a bunch of craziness in there, and it's usually on the floor, so it's a lot going on. So I've never really gone to the live stage. I think I did it in Chicago a little bit, but not so much in Anaheim. And yeah, I didn't even go at all this year. My wife did. She said it was pretty good. The badges were really cool this year. The only one I know I have them around, but one of them, I mean, basically had that really cool art. This is the Cassian Andor one from Sunday. Really cool art that you could actually, if you got all the badges, you can make it into one cool poster, which was really awesome. But lots and lots of guests there as well, and cool stuff happened, as we know. So, but yeah, and then our next one's going to be in 2025, Celebration Japan, April 18th to the 20th. Yeah, going to be at that Makurari Messi Convention Center near Tokyo. So can't wait. Can't wait for that. Celebration is definitely amazing. It's a little overwhelming at first, but yeah, like it's a blast. It's a blast to hang out with Star Wars fans all weekend long. Like I said, each one gets better and better every year. Can't wait to see what we're gonna have there in Japan. So that really took a lot of time going through all those celebrations. I'm gonna really quick kind of go through these last couple episodes of Visions that I watched this week. I rewatched. So this podcast is going a little bit long this week, but I rewatched episode 3 of Visions season 2. Episode 3 was called In the Stars. It's funny, episode 3 and 4 are completely different from the first two. Episode 3 was very uplifting, upbeat from the beginning to not from the beginning to the end. It almost started off like a Disney cartoon, like everybody's parents always die type of thing. And the kids have to like go on. That's kind of what it was about. The first part of the episode was beautiful, though. It was silent. And I love the just like meeting the main character, Tachina, I believe is how you pronounced her name. And it was just the no dialogue part and kind of the story that was being told through art, again, using that art kind of that from that first episode, was really beautiful. What their mom sacrificed for them, and the spiritualness of it, because there was like the Force kind of tied into this episode, which was really amazing. Obviously, it had a lot to do with the dark times of the Empire and how they would just overrun planets and just destroy their resources. So that came into play a lot in this theming of this episode, and what these kids had to do to survive, and basically breaking into these Imperial facilities just to get fresh water. And then they come to learn that they have a power that their mom had at the end of it, and they're able to fight back in a way, realizing that in the end they're never really alone, and that that connection to the Force is still with them. So a really cool episode. I'm not going to ruin the ending of that if you haven't seen it, but I liked it. This is the third time I watched that episode, and I like this one a lot more watching this for the third time. And then the episode 4, which this is only my second time watching this episode, the episode I Am Your Mother. And this one's a really cool stop motion style. This is the same animators that did Wallace and Gromit, if you're a fan of them. So interesting. Cool cameos in this one. Dennis Lawson, who played Wedge Antilles, did voice Wedge Antilles. Red 2 returning in his role, which was really awesome to see. There's a lot of small Easter eggs in this episode, like inside the rooms. The Max Rebo plushie, like in her bed. The Mando Beskar helmet that the mom is wearing. All sorts of fun stuff. Really cool. Lots of little hints of everything. Even the shoot, what is the little the ship that Luke had on Tatooine? The Skyhopper, T-16 Skyhopper is hanging from like her room as well. So all these really cool little references. And I know I missed a lot because some people had posted about some different ones. And this one's kind of like about a race. And it's a family. The mother and the daughter, they don't really get along. She's kind of embarrassed by her mom, but they have this. She's in flight school, and they have this like this parent child, fly together in this race day, almost like a soapbox derby type of thing feel that I felt like. And then there's these like kind of like enemies, the bratty child with the evilish mom, the snobby, stuck up, we're better than anybody, we're gonna win this race, insulting everybody, insulting them for their speeder. They're calling it like a porta potty type speeder, so forth. So basically insulting them that there's no way that they would have any chance. And the daughter is very embarrassed by her mom showing up. She didn't even want to race in the race. She didn't want her mom to show up even in their speeder. Just way too embarrassed by this. So, a lot of family, lighthearted theming going on in this episode. But then they come together and it has a happy ending. I'm not going to tell you what happens, but it's an uplifting. It's not my favorite episode of season 2, but it is definitely very family friendly episode of Visions. One of the few this year, so pretty cool. I'm definitely not going to get into talking about the other thing that I did today, which was go through the deleted scenes of Return of the Jedi on Disney Plus. I had saw an article on StarWars.com about the deleted scenes, and I don't think I had ever watched them. I know I had watched deleted scenes before on the DVDs, and I've probably seen some of them, but I went back and rewatched a lot of these, and there are some pretty cool deleted scenes on the extras of Disney Plus. It's really cool to kind of watch those extras every once in a while, and I went through and watched some of those deleted scenes, and there were things that I didn't remember, and it's neat to be able to go back and watch some of those deleted scenes and get some things out of it. So you get to see some scenes that were cut. They're obviously unfinished, and they kind of not really edited in, but a lot of them are really good. So I would like encourage you to check those out. They're really awesome. Don't want to end this without remembering Ray Stevenson, who was a big contributor to Star Wars, the voice of Gar Saxon in Star Wars Rebels. And then we know that he was recently announced as playing Baylan Skoll in Ahsoka. So we'll be able to see him in August portray that character, whoever that character is. But apparently a villain of some sorts. And yeah, so kind of passed away at a very young age. So yeah, he'll be missed, and we won't be able to get to hear him talk about that role anytime in the future, unless they did some behind the scenes stuff for him. But yeah. Yeah, that's about it. I'm not going to go into anything else because my time is pretty much over what I usually do. And but I thank everyone for joining in. Patrick joined in tonight. We had RJ joining in as well, which is really cool. Didn't have hadn't had him join us yet for the stream. Um, and yeah, so I'm actually off for the next 2 days, but I'm going to Galaxy's Edge on Thursday, so in the afternoon. So I might do a couple quick uh, stories or so forth on Instagram. Look for that as I'm roaming around Galaxy's Edge on Thursday afternoon. So until next week, which would be the last episode of the month, um, which means that I'm going to have my next crucial character pick of the month. And this time it'll be for Rise of the Skywalker. So we look forward to that, and we look forward to other Star Wars news. So again, thank you for joining Space Oats Live, a Crucial Crew podcast. I am the Crucial Crew member. Have a great night, and may the stars light your way.